Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening in to us, Blaire It Out. I've got two amazing people here. Sadly, David had a family emergency, so he's not going to be on. But who I do have on is Adam and Desiree Davis. So they are amazing realtors. Better say that right before I get everybody attacking me. And she's also pretty well known on the TikTok. So welcome, guys. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having us. This is fun.
You guys are like the cutest couple I've ever seen, by the way.
You're going to make me blush.
No, I mean, I really, I love that you guys are this, dynamic duo.
We got pretty lucky.
You do everything together, right?
Yep, since I was 17 and she was 15.
What? I didn't know it goes all the way back.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, how did you guys meet?
Well, truly, the first time I ever laid eyes on him, his little brother was walking me home from elementary school. I was 7 years old, rolling my Barbie backpack. And his little brother, my mom trusted him to walk me home. My mom was very protective, but she trusted Joel to walk me home. And his Adam was like, my little brother likes you. And Joel got really embarrassed, and Joel threw Adam around a mailbox, and I was like, oh my God, I love him.
Wait, who was older, Joel or Adam?
Adam.
Joel's my little big brother.
Little
He's
brother.
6'3".
Yes. Yeah, he's a little big brother, and
Yeah.
he is. He's always held such a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
So, and he was
you were
my
friends
best guy
all
friend.
through school.
Yes.
So you guys are babies when you met.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I did not exist to him.
Because
Literally, I was just this little girl. He thought I was cute and stuff, but no, he didn't.
I didn't meet you until your freshman year.
Okay, but my eyes met you, rolling my Barbie
That's
backpack,
when it counts.
Literally fell in love with you, and I compared every boyfriend to him. Every single boyfriend, I was like, they're just not good enough. They're not good enough. And I don't know what it was, but I never really even knew him.
Yeah.
But I just I wanted to marry him so bad when I was just a little girl. He was just
every time you played MASH. Did you ever play MASH? And
but
you never play.
is that
I'm
that
aging
little?
myself.
Is that
it's the game that you would play and you'd pick the 4 jobs or the 4 guys and or the
Okay, I did play
and then
that.
you'd have to
I
cross them
forgot that
out.
was
And then when the one that you liked got crossed out, you were like, no, gotta play it again.
Yes. But
Must be a girl thing.
I mean, it was. It
100%.
Yes.
It was our, fortune telling back then. So tell me who your 3 crushes are. This is who you're going to marry. You're going to be in a, shack, mansion, or an apartment.
Yeah.
And then you either got the shack with the Ferrari and the 15 kids. It was fun.
Yeah, and you were always on there. I do remember that now, but I remember another thing. I have no idea what it was, but it was something where you
oh yeah,
the origami thing.
Yes,
yes,
and it was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes,
and then you would have to do it. That was so much fun. Oh gosh,
yes.
The kids don't even know what they're missing.
I know.
Seriously, grew up on tablets.
I have a folder of letters that I would write him and he would write me, and
They're never gonna get the letters.
I know, and I cherish them so much, and I love them. Because I was just redoing and organizing stuff, I was able to read some of our stuff, and it's
There's nothing
precious.
like when you were in high school or junior high, and you'd get a letter, someone would pass it to a friend and give it to you, and then you'd get it, and you're like, who's this from? Mm-hmm. And then you'd open it up. You're like, it was from a crush or even someone maybe you didn't even know. Yeah. And you'd read it. And I'm like, I had that a treasure chest of these letters. Oh. And if I look back at them today, I'm like, they're so sweet and innocent. It's just nothing. I feel like you guys have a young son.
Yes.
I feel like I have all sons. I'm like, can you bring back the letters? When you liked a girl or liked whoever and you wrote them a nice
cell phones
letter.
at 7 years old.
But you really never wrote me letters back. I just was so enough. That was not his thing.
Dude, a girl broke my heart, right?
It's always
broke
a
my
girl
heart.
that broke your
my
heart.
First crush, and then I turned into a woman hater.
Oh,
and I was anti women.
That happens. It's your first crush, right? That can hurt you so bad.
Well, it was I think, how old was I? 15. I was probably 15. And
15.
you know, she cheated on me, right? When you're a kid, right? Start hanging out with other guys, whatever, and crushed me.
Yeah.
And I didn't take it well. And so I focused. I was racing motocross at the time, and I was like, I'm done. And so that's all I did. Is I just didn't do school activities. I was never into it. But I just kept to myself or my friends. And my little brother invited her to one of my summer 4-stroke races down in Pima Motorsports Park.
So was brother matchmaker? Was brother Cupid?
He was going to ask her out.
Oh, you took him from your brother.
I didn't do anything.
Uh-huh.
Right? I was the
I
innocent
actually
third
kind
party.
of think it's a little weird because he had a crush on me, but then I think honestly, him looking back, he would be like, "That's disgusting. What was I thinking?"
Because you guys were so close, like you guys are like brother and sister.
And so he knew like I was in love with his brother.
That would be weird, right? Like dating the guy that like your second choice to your brother.
Well, it put me in a weird position, right? It's like,
Did you know? Did you know that he like liked her?
I think I did. Did I? I think I did.
Well, actually, and it's kind of sad because he wrote me on MySpace the day that Adam asked me out.
OG Facebook, MySpace.
And he asked me out, and he was like so sweet, and he's such a good guy. Like, one thing that his parents like seriously did right is they raised amazing men.
Good job,
Like
parents.
amazing men, and they were very respectful. But my heart was always with Adam.
I love
And
that.
so, and you tell about the dirt bike track.
Well, they rode out there with my little brother and my dad, and I rode out there with my buddy. We had our dirt bikes in the truck, and we raced that evening.
You got second place.
Yeah, I got second place.
because you fell.
Yeah.
You wrecked.
And
and you know this.
I was really sad. Like I wanted to go. Like
she made me she made T-shirts that her and her friend would wear that would have like my dirt bike number on the back. Out of like that ink, you know those like gel, like ink pins that were like
yeah.
I was so in love with him. I'm telling you, like he was like my absolute everything.
And to be honest, I didn't care.
He did not care about me.
How long from that moment where you guys met and decided you guys liked each other till when you guys got married?
That night.
Oh, well, not. I would have loved that.
No, like
That
that night.
night.
This is so special because this is seriously like I love this so much. So he was driving. I was 15 and he was driving, which I thought was like the coolest thing ever. And he missed like
young
we
love.
were at
No, babe, you're like jumping way all
okay,
over the
we'll
place.
go. You do it. You tell the
You
story.
guys
You're better
rode
at
home
this.
with me. So her and her friend
Yes,
Kelly rode
'cause
home
it was
with me.
really cool.
And my
I
buddy-
love that you guys both, like me and my husband would both be like, huh? What, which one? You're like, no, that's actually not it. You were wearing a pink top.
And I started talking to her, and I realized, I don't know, 15 minutes in that truck ride that she was not like a typical,
Yeah.
materialistic,
15-year-old
fake,
girl.
like just annoying.
Yeah.
And we talked, and I missed my exit. I almost went all the way up to Red Rock
Yeah.
because we were
Oh,
talking.
so you guys are from here?
Yes.
From Tucson.
we grew up 2 streets down. I don't even know.
Stop it.
Well, I mean, technically, I moved like every 6 months in my childhood, but yes, like I mean, for most.
Well, she ended up in my basketball volleyball class because she got in a fight up at Blue Ridge and she broke some girl's jaw.
I love that you're like scrappy.
Like it sucks. That's one of the toxic things about me. I will straight up go hood like from 0 to 100.
You're talking to the wrong girl. I'm like, I like that to me. I'm like, that's called like self-preservation.
Like it's really hard. I went through like some hard stuff and no one believed me when I was up in Pine Top. So my dad got out of prison. He wanted like a second chance to raise his kids. And my mom, of course, like not really wanting that to happen, but my mom was always very supportive of kind of what our hearts wanted. And my little brother was up there, wanted to be with dad. And I didn't want to be separated from him.
Yeah.
So I went up there, and that is when I think my depression started, but not knowing it.
Yeah.
Until a little bit later. But that I was standing there, like my friend was getting, like there was a heated conversation that was happening and like a fight broke out. And I was standing there and one of the girl's boyfriend pushed me and said like, you need to get out of here. And a switch.
Yeah.
And I literally just got into this massive fight. I hurt her so bad. Like I broke her jaw. Like Like
She was on
her.
probation.
I was on probation.
too. I'm like,
This girl was like 6 feet tall. Like, I mean, I don't know what
spider
happened.
monkey.
Yeah, dude, straight up.
But it's like,
Straight hood rat.
my
Hood rat.
family, like every single one of my family members can fight. And I didn't know I could. I thought I was just like
You're
so
like,
different.
This is in my DNA.
It is. And not that I'm not proud of it. Was like I was a straight A+ student. I failed every single exam. I had to start over. I got on probation. I was literally on probation. I called my friends and was like, I'm expelled from school. No one believed me. And I was
Yeah.
like, you guys, like, this is for real. I'm not lying right now. Like, my life is
hearing
ending.
the story out of your mouth. I'm like, how?
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
How?
I know, but I've always really struggled with anger issues. It's been one of my things that I've always really struggled with. And it's because I am a very sensitive person and I get hurt easily. And then I don't know how to communicate those feelings
Well, you
in
never
a
taught
mature
how
way.
to work through your emotions.
And so
Yeah.
it comes out as anger. Well, I had no idea. Unfortunately, that girl got like the worst part of me. And I mean, I would take all of that back if I could. But when I got expelled, they did a transfer back to Flowing Wells High School for me. And because they knew the type of student I was, and I was like literally one of their top students.
Yeah.
And that is when I really started talking to him.
You're like,
Wow. I mean, gosh, it was like
what is that? 15 or what? Sophomore year?
I was a freshman.
Freshman?
it was my junior.
Freshman. Oh, that I swear is like how it always works. It's like always the freshmen with the juniors.
Yeah,
feel like.
and it was pretty awesome. I was very scared to talk to him, and it was actually my best friend Kayla who would encourage me constantly, like, Tess, just go talk to him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
No, we had a
He's gonna
class
think
together.
I'm ugly.
It was our PE class, and the class was called basketball volleyball. I'm not shitting. It's what it was called. And what do you think we did? We played basketball and volleyball.
Well, that's crazy.
And so, you know, she was on my team, and you know,
She's like, help me serve.
No, I was awesome, actually. I was like probably just as
I
good
thought
as him.
she was just kind
I
of.
love that when you're like super competitive. You're like, hey,
I was,
this
yeah, I
chick's
really was.
cool.
So our final, the end of the year, right? We have a team of like 8 kids, and there was 8 kids on each team, and we had to do this like volleyball tournament. And the final day, no one showed up but me and her on our team, and we beat
I
everybody.
was so scared.
Yeah.
Oh,
was
I
terrified.
feel like the stars aligned for the two of you.
It did, and he like touched my hand, and I thought I was gonna pass out because like he wanted to like high five me,
stupid.
and I seriously thought I was gonna pass out. I was so scared.
You guys. Okay, and so how long have you guys been married now?
7 years
7 years.
together, 16.
Gosh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys are like so cute.
But we had to grow up young, so that was.
And tell me about that. Like, what does that mean to you guys? Because I know that we've like kind of talked about this a little bit about
It
having to
gets-
grow
You're
up.
thrown on your own. So, I mean, we can go in the deep part of it. She ended up moving in with me. We dated for a month, right?
Yeah, it was like the summer you were going into your senior year.
2007. Mm-hmm. And she moved in with me because of family issues, and that caused a whole other aspect of drama, right? My brother's living there. He liked her, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was a shit show. You know, it's like people didn't want us together, and it was like we were mostly she was a center of attack, and
Why is that? Why do you think always it's like the girl who gets attacked and the guy is like always like,
Well,
because it's change.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. I think it was cowardly.
You were attacked.
Yeah.
Like
but it was
crazy.
my family, so different story.
yeah,
but
because then you know where your like boundaries, I guess, could be.
Well-
Yeah, like
there was boundaries that were crossed. And
Yeah.
I ended up moving out. You were still in high school. I just graduated. We moved out to a townhome
Yeah.
over off Kelso when I was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was still in high school.
She was still in high school. And it was just both aspects, both extremes to the families, to the point where we had to grow up. We had to
Yeah.
get jobs. We had to start, you know, I was taking her to and from school while I was working a job. She was working at, you know, at high school. And it was like your fairy tale came to an end really quick.
and you guys were so young.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the time where you're supposed to be like there's no bills. It's like just like having
your fun time,
Yeah, where you get to like kick back and breathe and just enjoy life. And you guys went in straight to real life, almost like where you guys were adults.
It felt that way.
Early.
Well, and it was,
Hey guys, just taking a little break to let you guys know, not only can you buy, sell, invest with me, you can also know that 10% of my commission is going to go to a charity of your choice. Because to me, you guys are not just another client, you become family, and I care what happens with your guys' contract. I hold your hand the entire step of the way. I guide you guys, and I give you the best service possible because I care what you guys are feeling. I'm your girl, Blaire Lametti with Realty One Group Integrity at happymommyrealtor@gmail.com.
was wanted to remove me from his family pretty quickly, and the environment from my family, his family, they were very hardcore like Christians, and they were coming out of like, it was more like a cult in some way, and they would express this to you as well, like it was just not healthy.
Yeah.
And so them taking on me coming in to the family was a big deal, like a big deal. Because that's like a no-no. And when you have a 15-year-old and you have a 17-year-old and what could happen, you know, at that young of age. And I think that our parents and his parents saw something very special with us, and they had that sex talk with us.
Oh, interesting.
Very quickly. I mean, very quickly.
Well, you kind of had to, right? You're moving in, you're living there.
Well, we had to too, because I was 18.
Oh.
I turned 18. She was
16.
16.
Yeah, that's
and so
kind of
it's
a big
like,
deal.
okay, hold on a minute, right? I'm an adult.
Yeah.
So, you know, rightfully so. It was still weird, but we didn't get the fun, you know,
Yeah, you didn't
puppy
get that
love.
like puppy love.
And you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, for certain struggles that we go through in life, it definitely, there's things I would have changed. But growing up young, I don't think I would have changed it for the world, because I feel like we're so far ahead emotionally. Our maturity
I didn't even realize how
levels
young
ahead.
you guys were until you guys just told me. So I was like thinking, not that you guys both look really young, but I didn't know. You just seem so.
Because my hair's short.
Well, and you know what? This is what shows that social media is such a filter, right? Like it's a clip of our highlights. That's what I like to say. And so when you're on there and you get pretty raw on yours now.
Yes.
But I think it's like you see these, you know, good looking couple with this beautiful baby, and you guys are, you know, killing it in the real estate world, and you guys are doing all these things. And I think on the outside world, they're like, oh, they've got no problems. They've never had to deal with anything. Oh, it must have been an easy life, when they don't have any clue. Yeah. And that's kind of why, you know, being in this business, why I started this is because the mental health issues of this business and our world is real. I mean, we've had agents, you know, end their life. We've had people like lose their whole families. I mean, there's people who've walked away. It's a hard business to be in. And because you guys have gone through so much, I mean, you were telling me about everything that you've gone through too. Yeah. I mean, there's so much like, and I don't think people realize, I think they see our smiley faces. They see, you know, us, you know, closing deals, but they don't see what our struggles are.
Well, it comes with social media too.
Oh,
I mean, it's like social media is a fairy tale.
100%.
And it's like, I can't judge you on your emotional, you know, aspect of where you stand.
Yeah.
I don't know what your life looks like. All I can see is what you portray.
Exactly.
And it's like, there's a lot of people that will jump on that social media bandwagon and have all their negative comments. And it's like, me and her refuse to do that. I mean,
you know, here's the thing though. I remember being a new agent, and I was so restricted. Like at my old brokerage that I was at, it was, Desiree, you can't post that. You have to filter. Everything has to be filtered. You can't post that. Like, how dare you? You can't do this. And so it was constantly like, okay, I want to be this real person.
Yeah.
It's been a battle, I think, my whole life to be this who I really want to be versus what the world accepts. And it's like, well, why can't I post that?
Yeah.
This is me. This is what I'm going through. Why can't I post that? Well, Facebook's not a journal. Well, it's my journal.
To me, I feel like when you put this stuff out there, and I'm sure there's people too who are like, oh, hey, you know, like, be careful about your podcast and what you put on there. And I'm like, listen, I'm not going to have anything on here that's going to, ruin my reputation. I am who I am. And now you guys get to see who I am. I want to sit there. I want to hear people's stories. I want to hear real life. I want to hear struggles, because so many people come up to me and like, you're Blaire, your life seems perfect. You seem like you have the success. Everything's going for you. I'm like, how often my life feels like it's falling apart sometimes, and you have to get up and deal with those struggles, just like you have to do with a transaction when things go wrong. It's real life. And how you handle those struggles and how you handle those difficulties, I would rather hear that and hear you overcome it, either in real life or you've already overcome it, any time of the week, before you telling me everything is perfect and everything's great, and then I watch you blow up.
But people need to hear it.
They do.
I mean, it's
See,
like,
this
you
is
got
why
somebody.
I like you though, Blaire, because, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That's why I connected with you. Like, I didn't know you before, and I knew you through social media. And that is one of the reasons why I connected with you, because I know you go off energy. I know that you can sense. I can sense pain. I know that you carry pain with you, and I can sense it. And people that have walked through the hard stuff in life and carry the pain, they carry it very well. But other people that carry the pain can sense that in others.
Yeah.
And I sense that with you. You're not someone that's trying to put on this facade for anyone. You will get down, you'll get deep, and whatever you need to do. And that is one reason why I have been able to connect with you, even if we haven't even got to do a deal together yet.
know,
But
I know.
I can't wait until one day we get to.
I know.
But it's just being able to see how you are and how you interact on social media has also helped me, like, be okay with my authentic self as well.
Oh,
because
I love it.
you are so authentic.
Oh, thank you.
And so it only inspires me just to be the exact same as well, and that it's
You're
okay.
amazing at it. I think you should, I think it's hard. It's scary, right, to go out there. You've got a big story to tell.
Yes.
And you've gone through a lot of things. You both have. And I think it's hard, right? Because when we pull the curtains, down, or and you are like, "Hey, this is me,"
You become
and this
vulnerable.
is you become vulnerable, and because people can judge you in a different way, but the people who are going to be attracted to you or connect with are exactly who needed to hear you and what your story was.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you want to sit there and say you're perfect and you want to put this filter on, you're going to attract just that. You're going to attract fake. No loyalty there. Like, I would rather everyone who's in my circle or not know exactly who I am, and that I have had faults. I have them now. I'm not perfect. And I want to get down to the real story. I want to hear what people go through on a daily basis, what they've overcome. Because the story, the triumph, the trial, that's the real story. That's what encourages people.
That's like what life is about.
Well, everybody sees the award, right? I mean, it's like social media. Hey, I got a new car. Oh, look at my new house.
It's
hey, I
crazy.
just closed this transaction. It was amazing. Cool. They don't know the backstory to that. And it's not discussed enough.
No.
And so it's like, you'll have, we'll use us as an example. We get people that message her all the time. Sometimes people message me, tell me how you guys do it. Been together this long, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, you don't even freaking know the shit, the mud that we have dug ourselves out of for 15 years. It's like, you don't see the struggle. And it's like, let me show you.
Yeah.
Because only then does reality kick in. And then people are like, well, great, you're just like me.
Yes.
And so it's important for these people that are struggling alone or feel alone, that there's other people out there that, hey, we've been there. It's
Even
like,
people in the
shit, they have.
business too.
Yeah.
Like we see people, like we all get together and we're like, oh my gosh, this business is crazy. Like, people can suck the life out of you. And then you get people who are like, you see them getting hit left and right with no's, and you just want to do everything to help them. And I think if there's more agents that are really do talk about this, then people aren't going to get into this business realizing it's not all rainbows. Like, sometimes there is a lot of shit before you get the rainbow.
Well, there's a misconception.
100%. Not only that, are you dealing with other people's emotions and traumas, you still have yours. So you get triggered, and so then you're like, okay, is this a me issue, or how do I, calm this down? But how do I have a boundary so I'm not walked on all over,
And then how do you contain it?
And how do you contain it?
It's our responsibility, right? Let's just use a transaction as an agent in a transaction. We're the leading principal.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have something falling apart, the last thing we want to show is our clients that we're nervous.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a containment of your emotions.
Yeah.
And so it's even more difficult in this industry than it is, you know, say give me something, give me a career choice, a nurse, right? You know, a nurse that can go blow our gasket or whatever in the break room.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're behind closed doors for a period of our time, but it's like we have to contain ourselves. We have to contain our thoughts.
Well, and everybody's watching.
And we have to maintain, it's not even a professionalism, but like an organization through this. So you're fighting your battles, but you have to put them aside.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, you think when the deal closes, well, great, you know, we can work on that. It's like, it's not how it works.
No.
We're right back in another one.
Oh yeah, or they call you, you know, months after,
Yeah.
and you know there's something wrong. I mean, it's never ends,
Yeah.
and especially if you're a good agent, right? Because you care about your clients, and you're like,
Absolutely.
hey, I'm always here for you, and the more you care, I feel like some of these agents can just shut it off, and I'm like, how do you even do that? Because
I can't do it.
I can't either.
I take everything personal
Me
with
too.
my clients. That's why they hired me.
Exactly. And that's why I think, you know, you guys, I've always watched you guys and been like, oh my gosh, I love them. You know, I love what you guys stand for. And I love that you've been really vulnerable because you have gone through some major life hits. And yet you are still smiling. You're still encouraged. You're still, you know, being that bright light for your son and for your husband and for each other because you guys have known each other since you were babies.
Yep.
So you guys, how do you guys deal with this business, deal with all of the things that you guys have gone through and still support one another?
For me, it's Jesus, to be honest.
Amen, sister. I love that.
To be honest.
It's a
Yeah.
security. I feel like, I don't feel like I've ever had, I feel like, right? I mean, my family may listen to this, but it's like I was always the black sheep. I was always the problem.
Yeah.
And so I never had someone to have my back. And it's like when I met Desiree and it took me 7 years to propose, right? And it wasn't because of, it wasn't commitment issues. Was
Yeah.
it?
No, it was.
It was
we were
life.
So little.
And
Yeah.
it was, but it was a, you know, it was a big decision.
Yeah.
And it's like I've never had anybody to have my back that I could trust with every aspect of my life. And so for me,
Well, you guys are going to make me all emotional.
that's enough, right? I mean, it's like I know she's going to be there.
Magic.
I know that I can call her any time of the day and she's going to back me up. I know if I'm having a rough day, she'll
Yeah.
put her broken self aside
Yeah.
to comfort me. And so it's like there's a whole nother level
It's safety.
of,
Yeah,
but
like
it's
you said.
connectivity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm not just in love with her. It's like we're intertwined.
Yeah.
It's like within each other, and she's an extension of myself. And so a lot of trial and error, right? A lot of fighting, a lot of demons, a lot of I'm sorry's, and a lot of stuff like that. But I mean, when we talk about this all the time because we do some counseling with friends, but you know, it's like my vows, we wrote our vows and it's like, I've never taken anything so seriously. And so it's like, you know, we'll have an argument and, you know, we've had arguments. Maybe we should just call it quits, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we're just not going to see eye to eye. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. 17 years, are we going to throw this away or are we going to work on it? Because it's not me versus her. It's us versus a problem. And it's
Yeah.
like, let's maintain a team. And I feel like there's a misconception with marriage, you know, that it's just, you lose your life and
Yeah.
it's like your life starts
Oh, 100%.
and people don't understand the change.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of it is we don't let people, you know, we had everybody trying to ruin us and it's like, try me,
No one wanted us together.
try me.
Why? Just because you guys were so young?
You know, I think that's just kind of like how weird stuff happens. It was like we were just attacked. I mean, from every
Friends, family.
family. I think that really our parents.
But
were
keep
the
in mind, we
only
were
people-
young.
we
So
were
we were still young when we
Yeah.
got together. It's not like we got together when we were 25 years old when we were out on
Yeah.
our own. So we had a like stupid, peddly, childish
So
bullshit.
coming
Yeah.
from my childhood, let's like understand. So
Yeah, 'cause I wanna
Adam-
hear this.
Okay, so Adam was his family. I mean, like they were to me the picture perfect family, and to a lot of people they were that way, as like that's how everyone viewed them. And he was getting together with a girl that basically was destined to fail. And like, so my parents were addicts.
Okay.
And we were very poor. I mean, barely making it. I don't even know if he actually really knew that at the time.
I spent 7 years of my life with her, paying for her brothers and kids' meals. And it's like mom didn't provide, dad didn't provide. It was me and her.
Wow.
And so it was, it was rough.
And that's where you kind of were saying about your double life, right? You were pretending to be one person because at home it was a very different situation.
Yeah. And so at 15, like the reason why I was living with his parents was I went to go take a driver's, your permit, my permit test. And I failed. And I failed my test. And I'm a horrible test taker. And I was just so nervous. But because my parents, like, I don't know what it was like 50-50 custody, my mom had to sign off. And I went to go see my mom. And I don't know what it was, but she would not sign off on the paper for me to be able to go back the next day to try to retake my test. And to my surprise, I didn't have a cell phone or anything like that. Like, I'm like walking on the streets and stuff, and I'm at my grandma's house, and my mom's like, you can't come back. Like, she kicked me out. She called Adam, and I don't know exactly all the.
She threatened to kick your ass. And whatever.
She just got triggered from maybe.
And I think
something?
it was a lot of
the drugs.
Yeah. And
I don't even know if she would remember any of that happened. To her, the reason why I guess why I lived with his parents was because we didn't have any hot water at my grandma's. And so I was staying with my friend at that time the whole summer because we didn't have utilities. And so she was like, I was taking showers and stuff at her house. And of course, like, I would keep, my friend didn't even know that, like, I kept all of that.
You kept a lot of these hardships to yourself.
Well, one, because I love my mom.
You wanted to protect her.
So much. And I want to protect her because she was also gypped a childhood as well. Mm-hmm. And my very first experience with Jesus happened to be with an experience that I had with my mom. And so I've been very protective over my mom, and I love her deeply. And so I never wanted her to be in a poor or bad light at all because I love her very much. And so does God.
Yeah.
And I knew that as a little girl.
Absolutely.
How much he loved her. Well, and that's Adam had no idea. He had no idea about my life whatsoever. And he gets this phone call from my mom that my mom is going to kick my ass and hurt me and whatever. And he's like, what the heck? I'm walking down the street trying to, because he lives like 2 streets over, trying to like stop crying because I'm just going to go over to my boyfriend's house and, just pretend nothing happened. And he comes rolling up in his truck, and then he's like, what happened? And long story short, I tell him everything that happened. And he has already talked to his parents, I think even before seeing me. And
I didn't talk to my parents. I told them. I said, this is what's happening.
Happen. Yeah.
If you kick me out, kick me out. But this is what's going to happen. Because I couldn't do that. And
you were so protective of her already. Like,
It was the first time that I felt so vulnerable. I didn't know what to do. Like, I don't even know if I said anything. Like, I didn't even know what to say because...
Well, then we go to pick up your shit, and she has nothing. And I'm like...
So you hadn't been to her house?
No, I went just outside. I mean, they were living with their grandma.
Okay.
And, I met her brother and all that. They were young as hell. And, she didn't have anything. It's like, holy shit. And it's like, this is what home life looks like? It's like, yeah, we can't have this. And so she moved in with us. And, I think I started working. Was I working?
You are working at Blue Water,
I was a boat mechanic. And so I was working out of high school. So I'd leave my classes and I'd go straight to work until like 6 o'clock at night. And I'd work Saturdays. And, that's how we paid for our fuel and insurance and all that fun stuff. And then that's just how it was. Then I find out her brother and sister are living in the same household. And it's like, they don't have this stuff. And
how old were they at the time?
So my brother was only 1.5 years younger than me, so he's like 13 years old or so. And I'm many times Adam rescued him out of like many situations. And then my little sister was like 9 years old. Yeah. And she had a hard time with the transition. I think, like, my little sister tells me, and it breaks my heart because she tells me, like, they were living in really hard conditions. And I would actually, like, I'd ask Adam, can I take some burritos, like, over to my...
I know, you're going to make me all emotional.
Because my mom was doing her absolute best. My stepdad had left. And they got into a fight. He had left. They had no food or anything. And my mom was working, and she was like a chef at like a retirement home.
That was way down the road, love.
Yeah,
because I was taking your mom to work.
Yes. And so, like, Adam was like helpful, very helpful. But I would take things, but I'm going with like a story here. So like I asked, can I take some burritos over to them to make sure that they have something to eat? Because I knew that they wouldn't. Like, my mom was like taking food and to help feed them and stuff. And so my sister,
because you're at Adam's at this point,
I'm
right?
at Adam's.
And then the other two are at your grandma's.
Yes.
Okay.
No, the other two are not at my grandma's anymore. My mom got her own place, and my stepdad and my mom were there with my brother and my sister.
And then the stepdad and her got in a fight, so then she was pretty much, they were just there with her.
Yes. And then my little brother, like my little sister, I think had a hard time with our relationship. She really did not approve of Adam.
Probably, and I'm speculating here, but a similar situation happened with my older sister, not to this degree, but when my parents got divorced and it was crazy. She moved to Arizona, and I kind of was jealous of it. Like, here we are dealing with all the shit, and you got to get away. You got to go away, and it still affected you, but like, we were sitting in it every day.
Yes.
And so do you think that could have been maybe a little bit of it? Or she just wanted you there?
I think she just wanted me there. I think she wanted her sister
Well,
there.
and as it transpired, I mean, it ends up Desi was mom.
Yeah.
I mean, she raised her brother. She raised her sister. You know, I know.
Well, I don't necessarily say I would raise my sister. She was with my grandma a lot.
Yeah, she was with your grandma.
But my sister said, like, made a comment to my little brother, and my sister had shared this to me like I don't know, probably a year ago or so, that he's like, just let her be. She's happy. Mm-hmm. Like, don't let her come back. She's happy. Mm. And it's like, my siblings, like, truly are so selfless. They just, because they endured pain, they didn't want me. They saw that, like, I had some sort of freedom. And I was able to live freely. And so, even though, like, my little sister, I mean, she was in positions that were very hard for her, you know, and she conquered through them because my siblings were just incredible. Like, my whole family is built with such amazing hearts. And, but truly, my siblings were selfless. They would be like, no, just leave her. She doesn't need to come back to this, and just leave her. She's good. Adam's taking care of her. And they supported it, even though I think my little sister had a hard time with it a little bit, just because I don't think she approved of Adam very much. She was just little.
Yeah, she was 9.
and
we never liked the older sister's boyfriend.
Yeah. And my sister's very, very protective. You could probably see that on social media.
Yeah, I've been watching
like my little
the post.
bodyguard.
You're like, and I love that. You're like, watch out for the little sister. She's gonna come get you. And I'm like, I need to meet this little sister. She sounds amazing.
She's pretty awesome. She is she's a handful. she is like,
she's probably a Spitfire. She's had to be, right? Like, you've had
that's her protection too.
Yeah, of course.
That's her protection.
And it's cool because it's like from an outsider, right? I met her when she was 9. How does she know? 20.
Like 6. I don't know. We just had this conversation. She's like going to be 30 soon.
It's like we helped them get their own house. You know, she's married. She has these 2 kids, and it's like
you just see her just like thriving.
Yeah.
Like, I feel as an older sibling, and this is like my brother's death was one of the hard things for me because as an older sibling, I made so many sacrifices, and they may not ever be able to understand that because they're not the oldest.
Yeah.
So they're not in that same position. But to see my sister winning in life and thriving in life, I feel like I win.
I love that.
And for
So
my
amazing.
little brother, that was, I think I took his death the hardest because I felt like,
Well, you guys were a unit.
what was all the sacrifices for? Why is he not here?
I know. And I know you've talked about it on TikTok, and you haven't really talked on an outlet like this. And I know how it was devastating. It's still devastating. Are you ready to go there?
Yeah, I actually think I am. I've worked really hard to be in the position to be able to talk about it. But my brother, his death was the ending of my life, but the birth of a new life. So I went the opposite direction of like any of my family. Like I've never touched a drug in my life. So all my family members, I think other than my little sister, like they were all addicts, you know? And I, from such a young age, was like, I just didn't, I knew that was not the path that I could be on at all. And my brother went the opposite path. And he became a drug dealer. And I mean, like, a really top
It was
drug
very
dealer.
difficult for me.
Yeah. It was very
Yeah,
hard.
because I forget that you've known this family forever.
Well, and it's, it put me in a tough position. It's like, we talk about our, the beginning, and it's like we never got us time. And so we spent our whole life, rescuing people and, worrying and giving people money. And you know what I mean? It's like, okay, how are we going to make them, change? We can't do this for forever. And it's like, it was just bad choice after bad choice after bad choice. And it's like, it was very easy for me because I know that she loved her brother with everything. And
Yeah.
after I see their childhood, it's like, well, this is mom.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I can't remove her from them. But at the same time, it's like, okay, it's 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. We're still in the same position. And, we can't control them. And it's like, it was difficult for me because I'm like, babe, at some point we gotta worry about ourselves.
I mean, it's such a fine line too. Like you've got the enabling, and then you want to not enable, right? And then you want to have these strict boundaries to protect your own family, protect your own self. And then you also are like, your family, and I love you, and I don't want anything to happen to you. So then you're like living in this constant fear and anxiety, and it's just so...
It's tricky.
It's so tricky, right? Because if you'd feel so much guilty if something were to happen and you didn't stop it, but you have to realize at the end of the day, they're a human being and they've got to make their own choices and make their own decisions. And it's not really you aren't able to control it. But as much as you want to try, right? They are going to make their decisions at the end of the day. But
yes, and he did. And actually, like, the more I tried to control how my brother's life played out, the more God intervened and said, step away.
Okay.
And he would say, every conversation you have with your brother, it is, what he's doing wrong, what he's not doing. Just love him. Love him where he's at.
Yeah.
Love his journey and just love him. And I remember I was trying to get pregnant for 8 months. I could not get pregnant. And I had finally just had come to terms with, okay, I am stressing way too much about getting pregnant. And the night that my brother was shot, we had a very heated thing with his older brother and his wife. They had found out that they were pregnant. And they were making comments and stuff, and
Stupid.
I thought it was like I'm supposed to guess that they're pregnant. And that was not the case. Like, she was making some comments, and I thought I was supposed to guess, and I asked, "Are you pregnant?" And it ended up being that they were pregnant. Well, his dad had asked me questions, and I had started crying. And I think it got misinterpreted that I was crying that I wasn't pregnant, but she was. And which is so wrong because but
even if you were, that's a natural response. I mean, I've lost babies and I'm like, I remember someone having a baby shower after I had lost a baby, and I was like, I couldn't go. It was devastated. Like I could not. So it's not that you're taking away from their joy, but you still feel pain. You still feel a little bit of like,
well,
is this
in
gonna
all
happen?
honesty, it wasn't that. It was that my brother was in such a bad position.
Wait, so did you go over there knowing that did you already know that he had been shot?
He was shot that night.
Yeah.
So all this transpired with his family.
Wait, so you already knew, and then you went over there, and then you and they're acting like it's
no. So what happened was we were over there for like a family dinner or
we had
something.
family dinners on Sunday.
Yeah, and then we were just enjoying their company because we love them, and they were enjoying their company, and then she was making some comments. I was like, "Are you pregnant?" Because I catch on to anything.
Yeah.
Okay, because I go off energy and stuff like that.
So you already knew. You already knew.
I actually knew. So here's the cool thing. And about 2 weeks prior to this, I was talking to my previous boss, and I was like, she's pregnant. So I have this gift where I can sense life, and I can sense death. So, and
Scares the shit out of me.
I sensed a baby, and I knew that she was pregnant.
I'm
and so
taking
I
you
thought
out for party tricks.
I thought I was supposed to be guessing. And so I didn't, but then his dad was asking me, his dad can pull my heartstrings like no other. And so, he was asking me, I don't even remember what the question was, but I was like crying. I'm like, it's just not my time. I've come to terms with it. Like, I'm so worried about my brother.
Yeah.
And then we left home and I was just in tears. A lot more happened with that story, but I was just in tears because
You think you're feeling the energy of what was about to happen?
yeah, I don't know. It was so bad. Like, it was just like,
You guys
what is
are
going
really
on?
close, right? You're very connected.
My brother and I?
And you have that
Yes.
gift, so you
Yes.
probably felt this, but didn't have clue where it was.
And I was
coming
very
from.
emotional. And then we go home, we like talking about stuff. We're excited for his brother and his wife. And then I go to lay down and I get a phone call from my dad butt dials me all the time. So I ignored his call because it was like midnight.
Yeah.
And then I ignored his call, and then he left me a voicemail. You need to call me now. Like, this is important. You need to call me. So I call him, and he said that I call him. He's like, your brother's been shot in the head and in the chest. Oh. I remember falling to the floor. I could not breathe. I was like hyperventilating, and all I remember from that night was me going and trying to get dressed. I don't know.
It's a blur.
It's
sure.
a complete blur. I don't remember the drive there, nothing. And I just was like, because all I knew was that my brother was shot in the head. And all I could think about was that he's gone. So I get to the hospital and no one would call me, actually. No one wanted to call me. My dad called me, but no one wanted to call me because they didn't want to wake me up or it was like too serious. I'm like, well, my brother's just been shot in the head.
Yeah, you call me.
Call me. And so I'm there and I call, it was my ex-boyfriend that I called that had been like working with my brother. He was like one of his like helpers. And I was like, Josh, what happened? Like, what happened? You need to be honest with me. What happened? And he gave me the story. And then I get to the hospital. We do not know the extent. We're waiting there. People are being questioned by the sheriffs and stuff. And we finally get to go back and talk to a doctor about my brother's injuries. And they had told us that he was severed, or his spinal cord was severed from his neck down. So he was paralyzed and that he would never be able to walk again.
He couldn't breathe on his own.
He could not breathe on his own or anything.
He was dead in the truck when they brought him there, and then they brought him to life.
Revived him.
Yes. And so basically, I mean, I really can't voice a lot of things on here because I have a private
it's
investigator.
Kind of still ongoing situation, correct?
Well, his case is closed.
But you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I do know. But yes.
So you guys, yeah. I mean, I'm watching you and I can see the pain in your eyes on these TikToks, and I know that there's more to the story, and definitely I'm like, get him, get
Yeah.
them. Because I don't care what your career is. I don't care what your job is. I don't care what kind of criminal act or whatever you've done. Your life matters and you deserve to have, a hearing, and there's consequences. I don't care if he's selling drugs. There's a consequence for the action of murder.
Yeah.
Well, and the person that shot my brother, supposedly, okay, it can go into a long story, but he is no longer alive. My brother did end up, he ended up dying on scene. My brother lived. And here's where it gets like, even though it was such a bad thing that happened, here's where God intervened, like completely. And it's beautiful. My brother was a complete atheist, like did not believe in God whatsoever.
Okay.
He would call me a Bible thumper. By the way, like disclosure, I've never read the Bible in my life. I'm very spiritual. I've had a connection with Jesus since I was about 4 years old. And I've built that relationship, and it was really, I was only honest with like my immediate family about it.
Yeah.
And so, but my brother made fun of me a lot. Like, how could you believe in, this God or whatever? Well, when my brother they put him in an induced coma, when he was finally waking up, like he was like searching everywhere. And I could feel like he's searching for me. Like I was connected to my brother like no other.
Yeah.
I'm like, buddy, I'm right here. And my brother had an issue with his hearing. And so he was deaf in one ear. And so I learned to read his lips like very early on. And so because he couldn't talk, because his spinal cord, like, I mean, nothing. Like he couldn't move
The
or
machine
anything.
breathing for him.
Yes.
So, the machine was constantly
Yeah,
in and
yeah,
out. And
yeah.
so he
Yes.
couldn't swallow. He couldn't do anything
So
like that.
he,
And you have that noise, like the
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And, oh gosh, that noise, yes.
I know.
do.
I've
I
heard
remember
it
that.
many
Yes.
times. It's not
Yes.
a good one to hear it. Remember.
No, it's not. And he could not wait to like talk to me. And he told me, like, I'll condense this, but he said that basically when he was shot, so he was shot in his right shoulder, that Jesus gave him a pillow to lay his head down on. Because the one thing that I literally could not stand was that my brother was alone. He didn't have me. He didn't have my family. I mean, any of us would have taken the bullet for
And this
him.
is coming from an atheist.
From a complete atheist. Like, literally did not believe in anything. And I asked him, like, did you feel any pain? I could not live if he felt the pain.
Yeah.
And he was alone. Like, none of us were with him.
Yeah.
And that is like one thing about my family is that we are with each other. Like no matter what, we are with each other. And so he had this experience with Jesus that was amazing. And he was like a changed person overnight. He did not even want to listen to his rap music. He wanted me to play him gospel music. Like so different. I was like, who is this person? I would go see him. So my old job, they worked out where I could have an extended lunch. I would go see him at Banner at my lunch period, and I would read the Bible to him every time, even if he was sleeping. He wanted that. Now, I did not read the Bible, but he wanted that. So I was just like giving him what he wanted. And then it was like one day my dad was visiting him, and it was the first day I felt like I could breathe a little bit. Like, okay, my brother, he's going to fight through this. Like he's going to get better. And that day was the day he decided he did not want to live anymore. So neurologically, he was there. The bullet never entered his head. It was grazed. It was grazed.
So his brain was intact, but his body was no longer functioning.
Yes. Yep. So like neurologically, he was all there, completely all there. And he's just like, sis, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this. And he didn't want to put it on my mom. He did not want to put it on my dad. And he knew that I could handle it. So him and his wife at the time, myself and his wife at the time, we met with the doctors. It took 5 hours. And actually his mom is a nurse at Banner, and she helped us. And we decided like the best route to let him go. And he did. He passed that day, and
That's got to be so hard because they're there. but their body is just, I mean, I probably would want the same thing, to be honest, if I was in that situation, because it's so hard.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're there, that's your brother, you're talking to your brother.
Yeah.
Even though he can't speak, you know he's communicating with you.
Yes.
And then it's like his wishes, but you still have to make that.
Well, we
His
were all in
wishes.
there. I mean, we
All of us were there.
we watched him pass. And it's crazy because when he was passed, it's like everything was gone.
Yeah.
It's like he wasn't there anymore. And
That's where, like, when people say, like, your soul moves on and your body is just, like, the vessel. Like,
You realize that when you see it.
when I saw, it wasn't my brother anymore. And I stayed with his body, I cannot believe this, for 5 hours.
Well, yeah, I mean,
5 hours. It felt like 1 minute.
did you have to like pull her off, or how did you?
I was there by myself.
I had to leave. I
Yeah,
mean, I had
that's
work. The night that he got shot, I actually had a showing with remember that client that I had to,
It was
push
literally,
on?
Still having
we
to,
would
like,
have done so
be in
many
work.
things different.
But maybe that was what it was meant to be, was to have the two of you like.
His wife was there too, but I don't even remember.
I think you're probably in such.
No, you were there because you followed him down to the morgue and all that fun stuff.
By the way, I had no idea that a hospital had a morgue. Like, maybe other people knew that. I had no idea. They're like, we need to walk him down. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it was shot. And then it was very hard because his wife was like laughing in the elevator, but it's her way.
Like, that's her like trauma response.
Yes. She's like, this is like a scary movie. And she's like laughing to be able to get through the pain. And I'm like, dude, this is not, my life is ending right now.
Yeah.
Like, my life is totally ending. Well, after all of that, it was like, I remember Adam, we were sitting on our couches and he's like, are you going to be okay? I'm like, yeah, I'll be okay. I was not okay. I literally was not okay. A month and a half later, I was at work and the girls were like, Desiree, like, have you taken a pregnancy test? I'm like, no, I haven't. I cannot take another negative pregnancy test. I cannot. I was stopped. They convinced me. They didn't know they convinced me. But I stopped at Albertsons on the way home and got pregnancy tests. And I had ordered like Adam's like gift of like announcing that I was pregnant, like way before, like when we first started trying. And I went home, thought like nothing of it. And I look at the pregnancy test and it's positive. Dude, I almost fainted. Like, I literally was shaking so bad. I could not even understand what was happening at the moment. And I couldn't even speak to him when I was like, I like gathered his
She
presence.
came out shaking and she looked terrified. I'm like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she just handed me this box. I'm like, babe, are you all right? She's like, open it. I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Just open it. And open it up. And it was the
I couldn't talk.
little fishing buddy or whatever. You got me
Yeah,
a
I got him like a
pick
little lure
thing.
It's like your brother knew like you needed that to like survive.
Yeah, but it gets weirder because my son has a birthmark where her brother was shot. I mean, right here. Same exact
How
spot.
many weeks were you when he passed away?
I actually think that when he passed away, like, I was pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like pretty close.
Yes.
Oh, I got like the whole body.
And then
goosies.
get this, Blaire. So my dad had called me one day and was like, hey, can you please go through the autopsy report and tell me what kind of bullet it was that he was shot with? And I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's
I cannot do
lot
that
for you to go through.
But then I did. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah, but they have no filter. Like, her mom and dad can't handle shit.
Yeah.
And so they like have her do it.
Oh,
and it's
that's
like, okay,
That would be me though.
let's just take a dump on Desiree.
Yeah, I would be like, I can't do it, and then I'd be like,
Yeah.
put my lawyer glasses on, and I'm like,
I was like,
let's
I
go to
cannot
work.
do this. I
Yeah.
cannot do it. But then I did it. And it was actually kind of cool that I did do it because, what had happened was I realized, so my brother had passed away at 5:17 in the evening time. Bowen was born on May 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at that. I said, that's when Bowen's going to be born. He's going to be born May 17th.
And there's a birthmark.
And there's a birthmark right where my brother was shot.
Well, because the bullet came in and then it severed the spinal cord. It was still in there, and they're like, there's no reason to remove it, right?
There was actually like issues, like it could be worse for him if they did remove it. It was lodged like in there. So he, like my son, and the fact that God blessed me like with my baby boy was like the biggest thing. And the night that I found out I was pregnant, my brother came to me in a dream. And what it was, I was like sleeping in my bed, and I was like, I woke up. Of course, this is like still the dream. I woke up and I see all like this pink mist everywhere. And I somehow knew my brother was beyond that pink mist. And I said, hold on, buddy. I don't know what's going on, but I'm trying to get through the mist. I'll be there in a sec. Then it was like my bathroom, and he was in my handheld mirror just staring back at me and smiling. And that dream somehow gave me the comfort of knowing that my pregnancy was going to be totally okay. I enjoyed every single second of my pregnancy. I didn't have any fear. It was the most magical thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. The birth was amazing. Everything was absolutely amazing. I think one of the, like, even no one was there for me either, by the way. Like, with my brother's death, no one was there. His
Everybody
family
kind
was
of
not
shut
there.
down.
Everyone like left me. I was so alone. Like, I was so alone. And so having that, being pregnant and being able to experience that, I felt less alone. Mm-hmm. And so it was just like it was the biggest blessing. I can't even put into words how much that helped me, because I truly, because of my mental health and the depression that I've gone through, if it wasn't for that, I probably would not be here.
So he saved you.
He saved me.
And your brother definitely probably came down and was like, hey, God, let's give her this, amazing little soul.
Well, and my son will find a penny.
Yeah.
This shit's weird. He'll find a penny. He's like, Dad, look, Uncle Robbie gave it to me. And
so I was going to ask if he
what?
talks about him.
He talks about him all the time.
And it's like, we never told him anything about him.
I mean, I talk about him sometimes.
And so it's like, all right, right? And I'm like the guy that's in the background that's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. And it's like, it's time Desiree would tell me, hey, you can't go. I'll go out. I'm like, babe, you can't go. And it's like, why? Just don't go. Okay? And there's a head-on collision where I would have been at that time, and I probably would have been dead. I mean, this has happened multiple times.
I've seen a post like that where you're like, you said something, you're like, if you feel this way, don't go. Or if you feel it, like, really, like, listen. And it stuck with me. It was like one of your posts, and I read it, and it stuck with me.
So this is one of the beauties about having the mom that I have had. Because of her, I was able to just get this, like, amazing relationship with Jesus, pure relationship. And
that's the only real relationship you should have, to be honest.
Yeah, but religion changes things.
Well, church does. I think it's like people, right?
Yep.
Like, and now I've gone down this path, David's my best friend, and he's, gay.
Yeah.
And I will never let anybody tell me that I can't be a Christian by who I'm around or who I love or whatever. I'm like, to me, I'm a Christian because I want to be Christ-like. I want to be like Jesus.
Yes.
You start throwing everything else into the mix, then you're going to have chaos, because we all fall short. Yep. Everybody falls short. And the miracles that Jesus brought into you as a 4-year-old child that wanted a relationship with you so bad, that's Jesus to me. That's my religion. I'm like, my religion is be like Jesus as much as you possibly can, because it's you can't ever be like him.
Yeah.
But you can try.
Yes.
And you can open up these doors to this amazing world that we probably don't even have a clue of, the spiritual warfare alone.
Yeah.
And what's going on behind the scenes.
Yes.
And this is kind of that.
Well, it's untainted. I mean, you grow up in the church, and it's like you're taught, right? There's rules, and you can only be loved, right? Or
you got to be perfect.
And it's like, give me a break.
And nobody is. I mean, look at how many. I was just watching the Hills song or whatever, that documentary, and where the pastor basically has an affair and they remove him, and
I don't know.
It's a really good documentary, and we're actually watching it right now, and it's all about this. And to me, my husband and I were talking about it, and we're like, yes, I believe like when you're the pastor, you're in the main church, and you do something like that, you do need to step down. But in no way does Jesus love you less. Like, he loves you for your faults, for your, does he hate the sin? Yeah, but he loves you. And I'm so tired of people being like, oh, you got to do this and you got to do this and you got to do this. Well, there was only one thing that he asked you to do, and it was to believe in him and to love him and to love his people like you loved him. Because at the end of the day, you are not the judge. There is only one judge. And you got to live, stop living this life of where your sin is going to make my sin better. It's all the same.
I grew up in the church. Have a whole other podcast about that.
Oh, you grew up in the church?
Oh, yeah.
I was
forced to go.
See, I love church. I really am a church. I love it. And I love the people and I give them a lot of grace. But when I start to hear things that I don't like, I call it the change the channel. I'm like, okay, I'm going to deep dive in and see if God's telling me, hey, Blaire, you got to work on this or fix this or, grow from this. But when it starts to come from other people or like,
who are they?
I'm not changing anybody. I'm not going to, I can love. Because you will never change anybody's opinion by anger, anxiety, fear, nothing. But you will get somebody to open up their ears and their eyes from love.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. And I love that you created your relationship with Jesus, yes, from your mom. Who, was it your mom or was it just came to you?
So my very first experience with Jesus was, and I did get my mom's permission to talk about this because it paints her in a way that could be kind of harsh, but she did give me permission because I really do care about my mom and Absolutely. I don't want her to be, I care about everyone. Yeah. I don't want them to be.
And she's still your mom
Yes.
and you love her and she's fought a big battle.
Yes. And well, I got my school pictures back when I was like in second grade, I think. Well, I don't know because it was I think it was second grade. So I don't know how old I was in second grade, but I had this experience with Jesus where, so I asked my mom, can I hang my picture above my bed? Like I was so proud of it. I felt so beautiful. And so it took me like hours to hang this picture up, but I hung the picture up and then I came in and I went and got my mom and I said, Mom, can you come look at the picture? And I just remember her standing in the doorway and she goes, oh, wow, you're such a conceited little bitch. And I literally shut down completely.
And
I hurt every emotion that I could feel. I felt. I sat on my bed and Jesus sat literally right next to me. And it was like my mom was in front of me, but she really wasn't. And he showed me my mom's entire life and said she did not mean what she just said.
She's just broken too.
She's broken. I love her. And here's how I love her.
Now, if that's not Jesus right there.
Well, and coming from the church, right? When you're indoctrined into this religious cult.
Yeah.
Because that's my opinion on organized religion. To see this, it's like,
opened up your eyes.
well, because I was like anti anything. If
Okay.
you mentioned God or Jesus, I'm like, dude,
You're
don't
out.
even talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear it. I'm going to go smoke my joint over here, right? I'm going to be a delinquent like I'm viewed to be.
Yeah.
And just leave me alone. But it's like when I met her and she has these, it was a untainted, honest, organic relationship, right?
And coming from someone who's been hit over hit, who shouldn't really still
Yeah.
feel this way.
Yep. So it opened my eyes. I mean, it really, that was
I've
kind of
got
the
so
breaking
many
point.
goosies, guys. Like, I'm like, I feel like you're like, he's here.
We
like,
never
it's-
talk about this. Do we ever talk about
I
this?
don't get to, but I've also been very scared to talk about it because I don't want to paint my mom into someone
Yeah.
that she's not. She was very broken.
It was, it was a broken situation.
And I don't know in that moment, my mom jokes a lot too. So I don't know in that moment if she was joking or not. She says she was. So, but in that moment, it didn't feel like a joke. It felt very serious to me. And that was a teaching moment for Jesus. And I swear to you, any moment that should have broke me as a child, he was right there. And my mom believed me in every aspect. Like, I started as a little girl, I got visions. Like, I could predict the future. I'm like, Mom, you have to stay away from Ruth Roth in this area. Otherwise, you're going to get in an accident.
I'm like, you're freaking me out. No, because I believe in this stuff because I get dreams too.
And see, and people in religion, because they don't understand it, they will say this is demonic. That doesn't come from Jesus. That doesn't come from
Why? That's
God.
the Holy Spirit.
But some people don't understand that. And my mom somehow because of her. She's always been a huge believer, loves Jesus. And I'm telling you, Jesus loves her so much.
Yes, absolutely.
And he showed me her love. And I was able to see through someone's brokenness at such a young age.
You were a baby.
And understand that when people project, that is not for you to take on.
Mm-hmm.
That is their stuff. They do not mean what they say.
Because she was probably taught these things too, right?
Yes,
Like,
my grandma was horrific.
it's a pattern. It's called, I believe it's called generational curses.
Yes.
And so it keeps going, right? And it's up to you to break that curse.
Yep.
Yes.
And to like the strongholds that we have, right?
Yes.
Because even if she was joking or not joking, those words were hurtful.
Yes.
Especially to a child.
And I was like, I mean, I am a walking sensitive person. Like I'm the strongest, most sensitive gangster that there freaking is. I swear.
I don't even think that I wouldn't even call it like sensitive. I feel like sensitive is like a negative term that people like to use.
You're right.
I think you are a person who has this huge heart and knows and sees through bullshit and truth.
Yes.
And that is very hard to see on a daily basis.
It's very hard. My sister was like, because she experienced something one time. I don't even remember what it was. And she's like, how do you live like this every day? And I said, I don't know. I'm barely surviving, to be honest with you. But I'm learning, and I think it's my mindset that really, truly keeps me here.
Well, you're meant to tell this story, and you're meant to tell these things.
Well, now I feel that way. Like now I feel that, okay, maybe my story does matter. Maybe my brother's story does matter. Maybe people do want to hear it. And that's the whole reason I got on TikTok.
I love
was because my therapist, because I literally have tried to commit suicide a lot of times. It's very sad. And I hate to talk about that, but it is.
I think it's important to talk about it right now because there's a lot of people struggling with that right now.
So I felt that I was more of a burden, even like with Bowen being a mom. Like he's better off without me.
Never.
My life felt like such a burden to other people. Like I felt like a burden just on anything. And when the very first time I tried to commit suicide, we were working at his dad's RV shop, and I found a moment where I was alone and like I could go home. My brother was living with me and his wife was living with me at the time because his friend shot himself in front of him on accident. And so we moved them in to care for them because that was very traumatic. But I was like barely surviving myself, but I was hiding it from everyone. And I found an opportunity where I could just go home. And I had totally planned on shooting myself. And I don't know how, but Adam knew. And he came home. And come to find out, my brother was supposed to be at work. His wife was supposed to be at work. They were both home. And I was like, I don't care. I'm still going to do it. Like, I don't care. I was such in a dark place. Mind you, before this, I had really tried to talk to Adam about it. And with someone, spouses don't necessarily know how
Because they want
it.
to fix you and want to protect you, and it's
Yes.
really hard. I was going to ask Adam, how did you feel during these times? Because this is like you feel very out of control.
Yeah, but we were both broken. I mean, it's like
So
a quick backstory on me. I suffered from health anxiety. I'm talking extreme. Missed days of school. When I was anxious, I would go to a hospital parking lot and I would just sit in my truck for hours.
Like, I would have to drive him to the hospital
there.
and just sit there.
And
so you guys were both battling from serious amounts
Yes.
of
and
mental health issues.
It's not fair, right? It's like to her, it's like we're both broken. And I think, you're talking about, 17 years, had to go 17 years. It's that understanding.
Yeah, you knew what it
Well, that's
felt
like
like
she's
to feel
broken, right? And I always felt like, who am I to throw this on her, right? It's like
Did you feel like that vice versa, like not to throw your stuff on him because he was struggling too? Or did you guys were both just in survival mode?
I actually, for the first time in my life, I reached out to him to get help, and his response was, I'm sorry, babe. Like, it's going to paint him into a bad... He said that I was pitying myself. And
because he couldn't
no,
deal with
how
that.
the conversation went. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way
But he was trying to be honest, but it was the words that I needed to hear, yet I didn't need to hear it at the same time. Like, it almost snapped me out. So,
Like almost like bring up that anger, like that fight in you to almost help you get out of that.
Yes.
It wasn't the right thing that I should have said, but at the same time, I think me saying it did something.
Help. Because if you, just from hearing these stories, right, you go fight or flight. So when somebody kind of like eggs you on or tells you can't do something or says something, you're like, watch me.
And he's like, you're pitying yourself. And I'm like, watch me not pity myself.
So it snapped you out of it. So him not even knowing, you not even knowing, him not even knowing it.
Yes.
You guys are so meant to be in each other's lives and save one another. You had no clue that comment probably saved her.
Yes.
Well, and there was so much. I mean, it's like her brother was living with us and they were fighting and he was supposed to be working and he wasn't working and he was just, it was just
a lot of like,
it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then no one knew but Adam at that time. Well, and I did go to my mom and I was like, Mom, I'm going to shoot myself. And she said, you need Valium. I don't think she understood the degree. No one really truly believed me. And that was one of the hardest things. I don't think people do with
suicide. I think it's a very no, let's not talk about it. I want to fix you. Why aren't you being fixed? Why can't you be fixed? I'm telling you how to be fixed. But it is such a personal thing.
Well, and it's awkward.
Well, and I didn't know how to
people don't know what to say.
No.
I mean, it's like if someone came up to you and says, hey, I'm going to go home and kill myself. What do you do?
Yeah.
People don't talk about what you do.
And for me, it's really easy. I mean, I could keep someone from committing suicide very easy. But I don't know why it comes so easy to me.
But for how long, though? Because you can't watch them every move, and you can't control everything about them. So at the end of the day, they have to want it themselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's where God intervened in my life. So when I was like, I felt so distant from him too. I'm like, how? Like, you're abandoning me. And everyone would say, well, just pray. Just pray. And it's like, that is the last thing someone going through depression needs to hear is just pray. Because I'm serious, we've prayed 1 billion times.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's like the disease, it doesn't allow you to feel.
No,
like
you feel nothing.
I literally was numb. I could not feel God. I literally could not. And for the first time ever, and I was struggling, and I was just like, and I was full blown going to shoot myself. And seriously, like if my family, most of my family doesn't even know this. Like no one even truly knows this. And my brother he told my brother because he was living with me. And my brother came in and was like, you can't do this. You know, Pat just shot himself. You cannot do this to me. You can't leave me. Those two things got me out of my me ending my pain will only transfer the pain to someone else. God then revealed to me shortly after that, he said, what you're feeling is completely normal. Mm-hmm. The sadness that you're feeling, everything that you're feeling, this is a normal response to everything that you've dealt with in your life. This is normal. It's okay. Mm-hmm. You just can't stay here.
Can't stay here.
You cannot stay here.
Well, and to be fair, Desiree never gave herself grace. You know, she was always in
go mode.
Take care of everybody else except herself. And it's like, as a spouse, it frustrated the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, let them go to jail. Let them do this. Let them live the life we want. This is not your responsibility. And God, we fought our whole relationship
because she's taking on all of this energy, all of these feelings.
But it was everybody.
Everybody.
I mean, it was
trying to save everyone.
Friends, my family, her family. And it's like, stop.
Yeah.
But you can't just stop.
I've literally had this role of trying to play God.
Yeah. Up until what, last year?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not even that God. I think you were trying to save everyone. You're trying to protect everyone because you knew what you felt and maybe just going into it as being a kind of a savior, right? That you're like, hey, you get drained so much. And if you don't get that energy back or take that time to mentally just take a breath and remember why you're supposed to be here. There's sometimes where I'm in a car and I have to be like, get out, get up, stop it right now. I have to yell at myself to this day. Sometimes I can feel it because to me, and I want to tell everybody this because I think it's important. You are meant to be here. the reason why you have so many demons, the reasons why you have so many things that are attacking you is because you have a light and a story that's going to save thousands of people. Even if it saved one, you are meant to do it. And the enemy doesn't like it. So he's going to come at you and attack you, and he's going to visually attack you. He's going to mind fuck you. He's going to do all these different things to try to bring you down, to make you go out, because he knows what God has in store for you.
Yes. And I didn't realize that until I did go to therapy. And she was like, I literally love her so much. I owe everything to her, I feel like. She said, Desiree, the way that you think and the way that you love needs to be heard in front of a panel. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, you're just saying that because you're my therapist. She's like, no, seriously. I want you to go home. She's like, what's one thing that you've been wanting? And I was talking to her about TikTok. Like, I wanted so badly to get on TikTok, but I was so scared. And my sister, I owe everything to my sister. She's taught me like everything and how to work TikTok and just use it. And she said, I dare you to go home and make a TikTok. And I did. It got me out of my head. And it made me, and she's like, think about, you need to be the person that you needed as a little girl.
Oh, I love that.
And so like, it was just whatever reason, it's exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. And it's like, I had purpose again. And, I've been really, really strong about, God, what's my purpose? And the only thing that I ever get is to love like Jesus. And that is like, of course, I'm never going to be able to reach that, but I'm going to get close.
But he's using
like,
you.
That is,
he's getting you. Like,
I
didn't know half the things that you've gone through. I knew that about your brother, and I knew some things about your family life, but nothing to like what we heard today.
Yeah.
I didn't know you struggled so. And because it's embarrassing a little bit, and you feel vulnerable and you're scared. But what we're seeing everywhere right now, and the mental health department, I mean, it's just crazy. We're so lost in ourselves, and we don't know how to help one another. We don't know how to help ourselves. You are doing that. I mean, you're being vulnerable, and I guarantee you're gonna keep starting to get a little bit more. I mean, today we're talking about stuff that you probably never have talked about.
Yeah, you're right. No, this is the first time, other than my husband and maybe talking to my sister and stuff, it's like, it's truly the first time that I am scared to talk about things, not because I'm scared to be vulnerable. I can be vulnerable. That actually comes very easy to me. I don't want to hurt people. So the fact that people have hurt me, to be honest about the situations that have happened, it paints them not in such a good light.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hurt them.
I get that.
And I'm trying to find a way to be able to still honor them.
And your truth.
And my truth.
I like the little pause.
I think, though, you're doing that. To be honest, like, I'm hearing it, and I see everyone as they're humans, right? They did the best they could in the situations that they could.
You know, it's grace. It's all it is.
It's grace.
It's just grace.
And
just
that's why
give people some grace.
Yeah.
You know, like she said, you know, you want to be the little girl, or you want to be the person that you wanted, you know, as a little girl. And it's like, that logic is all you need. It's like you walk into, you know, parenthood, right? Yeah. It's like there's things that was lacking in my childhood, and obviously a lot in hers. And it's like, guess what? We get to make sure this kid doesn't go through any of that. You know what I mean?
He's such an awesome kid. I haven't even met him, but I feel like I know him.
Oh,
I'm like, you're the coolest kid.
He's a homie,
is so
man.
cool.
He's such a cool kid.
He is having spiritual experiences too. Do you want to know something he told me? Like, this was like, I don't know, a few weeks ago we were at Burgers Bagels, and randomly he shocked the heck out of us. He's like, hey, Mom. I was like, yeah, babe. You know that I'm your brother sent by Jesus? And I said, yeah. Are you, baby? That's like, oh. And
He'd be like, Dad, I made this for you.
I felt that, though, like, when you were telling me the story, I'm like, oh, no, he was totally sent by Jesus. Like, that's crazy.
Well, and he'll be dead ass serious and then turn into a joke. Like, Dad, I made this for you. Why? Because God told me to. Oh, he did? Yeah. And he starts freaking
like
out.
his own little, like, pastor.
He's
so
just... he has a freedom. And I feel like it's important as parents to give the kid the freedom. Yeah. It's like...
And that's what
if
my
it would have
mom
been
did
different for me, I wouldn't want to go to church.
Yeah.
Don't force me to do something I didn't want to do. So then maybe I could find whoever your, higher power is, right? It's like, well, maybe I could find him on my own terms. How much different would that be? And so
Because
it's like,
God's going to find you. So
And I'm telling you, that's what happened. Like, that is what happened. And I want to share this, like, before we do end. My very first, very, very first experience with Jesus is I had a dream. And in the dream, there was twin beds. And I, like, remember looking really far down, and I saw all these twin beds. Everything was white. And I felt so special. Like, that bed was so special. And Jesus said to me, "This is your bed in heaven." And as a little girl, like, this is your place, Like, it was the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
And I noticed, like, all these shelves. And the shelves actually look like the shelves that are in my house.
Okay.
And there were shelves. And on the shelves were these little jars of liquid. And I asked him, "Well, what are those?" And he says, "Those are my children's tears. I save them all." And, like, it's just and I think I was probably Bowen's age, 4 or 5 years old, around there, when
And he was like speaking to you in a child's terms.
Yes.
Too. Like, listen,
Yes.
I care about you.
Yes.
What your tears matter to me.
Yes.
Like, I'm here to protect you.
Yes.
And yeah, you're going to cry, but I'm going to still be here to love you.
I save them all, and I care about every single teardrop. Yes.
Girl.
And I saw, like, and another thing that was crazy to me, because when, like, I remember what his face looks like, but if I try to explain to you, I can't. It's just like this really bright white light. But I remember the holes being in his wrist. He had showed me, and they were in his wrist. And I was very confused because I always thought they were in his hands. But I never really thought about it until I got older and I started learning. But they did crucify him in his wrist.
You saw him, like,
And his
not
feet.
even knowing.
Yeah, and not even knowing. And he had, like, a purple sash on, and it was, like, in a white gown. And it was just, like, the most amazing experience. Very, very pure. And so beautiful. So my relationship, like, even though, yes, you have to agree to be able to be in a relationship. He's not just going to,
No.
like,
He'll knock on your door. We got to
Yeah.
let him in.
you have to agree. And I absolutely agreed. But I do feel like in every moment that I needed him, he was there.
Well, you were a child, too, and he came to you when you needed him most. And
Every single time. Yes.
that.
Every single time. So it was just really cool. Yet I have this freedom to be able to absolutely explore my spirituality as an individual. I was not indoctrinated. I was able to establish this on my own.
It's like Jesus in the wild.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Like,
Yes.
not with, like,
how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. I mean, that's what it was. That's what
Yeah.
you do. I mean, I feel him the most. And when I'm struggling or when I'm just walking a mountain and I just want to say thank you, like, why am I here? Thank you so much for grounding me. I always try to say thank you because,
and that's important.
and guide me and tell me what to do. This is opening up doors to talk about him. And, I'm talking to it with David, who David believes other things, but that's okay because we both believe that there is some wonderful things happening in our lives. And I just think that there is so much more room for love than judgment and fear. And we can all listen to each other. Doesn't mean we have to agree. We can pray on it and listen and let it go.
And you know what? If people would get out there, right? This is something we talk about a lot. I get a really good friend of mine. He's a diehard, I'm not getting political, but my political stances are more conservative.
Yeah.
His are the extreme other side. And we're like best friends.
I love that.
And, we talk about this often. It's like, I remember we were deer hunting a couple of years ago. And I was like, what if the media didn't exist? Because I'm asking him, from your political stance, these things that we're seeing on the news and, whatever, does this exist? He's like, no. And it's like, if we could just all go out, right? And just shut that shit off.
Yeah.
Be completely polar opposites and sit down and just break bread.
Yeah.
It's like people's perception would be, they would look like they'd feel like a fool.
Well, that's what what do you see the government and all these things that are
Yeah.
going, they want chaos. They want people to bat
Yep.
at each other's throats because then they can conquer and win. So if everybody starts sticking up for like, hey, it's okay what you believe and it's okay what I believe, but let's love each other anyways.
Yep.
And let's move forward and just have a world that's better for our children and better for ourselves.
Yeah.
And work on mental health, because mental health is so real. We got to stop being scared to say it. You know, I deal with mental health. You guys deal with mental health. It should be a normal sentence to be talking about this. It's okay to talk about suicidal thoughts and how you can fix them and work with them instead of just hiding them in a corner until somebody actually does something about it. And then we are all upset about it afterwards and saying, what could we do? What could we do? We got to listen. We got to move forward. We got to be stronger for one another. And we got to be vulnerable, because otherwise, everyone thinks everyone's got a perfect life and no one's struggling with anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the problems is people don't want to listen.
No.
They want to listen to respond. And so when someone who has depression, they don't need to be talked to. They need to be listened to and just heard. They don't need to be fixed.
Or
you can't
just
fix them.
Or not a word.
Not a word.
Just
Just
presence.
listen. Just
Just
presence.
presence.
And it's like that's something we've,
Don't
because
tell
we've
them,
talked about this.
like-
Like, what do you do?
And it's like, you can't, I cannot say this enough. I'm so about praying. Okay. But you do not tell someone,
I'm going to pray for you.
I'm going to pray for you. You need to pray. Mm-hmm. It is because I promise you they have. And if they don't,
And then they're wondering where the
associate-
answer is.
What
too.
if they don't believe the same way you believe? Okay. That is not going to be helpful. I'm about helping people get through it and giving them tools to get through that. That is not a helpful tool. That is actually can do quite the opposite. And luckily, because my mind, I consider myself mentally very strong. I don't know what it is. I'm very, very strong. I should not be here, but I am. And it is because I have conquered my own mind. And I observe my thoughts. And that's the word that God
Well, you
used.
won your battle too. A lot of those battles.
Yes.
Oh, and
Observe how you're
Going,
feeling.
yeah.
Do not get lost in it. You cannot. It's okay to feel sad and depressed. Something's not wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through something for a reason. I feel like my depression has been the biggest gift to me. Now, would I really want to go back to my darkest moments? No, I don't. I don't want to go back there ever again. But the fact that because of the tools and the simple fact that I was able to observe the thoughts that I was thinking, I was able to keep myself alive for one more second. I didn't get lost in the thought. Mm-hmm. I say, okay, I'm thinking this way, but this is not my reality, and nor does it have to become my reality. And the fact that my pain does not end, it'll only transfer to someone else. And so me just being who I am, I don't want to transfer the pain. And now that I'm a mom, I certainly don't want to transfer the pain to my son. Mm-hmm. I couldn't leave my husband alone and transfer the pain to him. Like, it's just, I feel that, okay, I'm strong enough. I will get through this, and I will, and I have. And I'm one of the blessed ones that is able to survive that. Now, will depression get a hold of me one day? We'll see. I doubt it,
I think
though.
we're all
I
going to
won't
go a
allow
little
it.
bit, but if you already know your tools and you know yourself so well, you're able to get out of it. And I know we've got to wrap this up, and this has been such an amazing podcast, guys. And we're really just touching on the things that we really want to do to help. And is there anything you guys want to close with before and just tell everyone who is struggling, like what one thing that you'd say for them to keep going?
Oh, gosh, it's so much that
oh
would
man,
I know.
yeah, that's
But
a
we
hard
have-
question.
We've touched on it quite a bit. We've hit those points, but I'd say if you could leave somebody with something that is struggling right now, what would you say?
It can only get better.
Love that.
I mean, when you get into that dark of a place, there is no positivity. Mm-hmm. And so how can you get lower from where you are? And, when I became a father, I told Desi, right, because I suffer from depression too. The difference between men is it's not discussed with men.
Yeah.
We're supposed to just be strong.
To be honest, though, it's not really discussed much with women either, because you've got so many people who judge you.
But what I mean is we are the leader, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like
in this
I
society.
can't, my issues I can't let on my wife. I'm supposed to hold them.
You hold it
right?
more by yourself.
And I've won battles on my own. And I absolutely love that I did that because I feel like I accomplished it. And so I feel like, we talk about my child, and it's like, what if her and I wasn't here? The pain to him is unbearable. So would I be miserable the rest of my life so that so I was still here for him? Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so that's something in the back of my mind that I've implemented. Is it positive? No, it's not positive. But I work every day on improving myself. It's hard for me to tell people, right? Something you want to leave with somebody is to, speak up. It's so hard to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, me and you were talking about trust issues just within our industry. Mm-hmm. And that's not something, people don't have the tools to handle that. However you can express it is how you need to express it.
Yeah.
And whether that be medical help, friends or family, you just can't hold it.
Yeah,
you
don't
can't hold it in. I mean, you've got to make some sort of effort because, it takes a village.
It really does.
And when you're in that darkest place,
Or
just the presence.
Yeah, just somebody else like just being there maybe and listening and not talking at you or trying to fix you. Sometimes you just got to sit there and listen and be in the presence.
So my advice would be more on the other end, right? If someone comes to you or you can tell someone's not okay, just sit with them.
I love that.
Don't talk. I mean, you can tell them you're there for them. I mean, when I was in my lowest of my low and just sitting on a couch with my wife, it made me feel better. Mm-hmm. And, maybe this much better, but.
And some people may not have that. They might truly be alone and may not have that. They may not have a relationship with God. They may not have a spouse. They may not have a friendship. And so I think truly I want someone who suffers with depression, any mental illness, anxiety, whatever the case may be, that they truly understand that this is a disease and you're not alone. Mm-hmm. Even though the disease makes you totally believe that you're the only one experiencing this, you're not, and you're not alone. And just tell yourself, one more second.
One more second.
One more second. I'll get through one more second. And just breathe through it and truly be honest with yourself about how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. Like, I think one of the hardest things is I was such a perfectionist. And it was like, what the hell is happening to me? I'm a happy person. What is going on? And I didn't understand what was happening. No, I never even knew about depression or anything. And when I started getting educated on what depression was, started seeking out and educating my mind, strengthening my mind, because I think it's the disease of the mind and also of the spirit as well. And so, and if you are a good-spirited person and you're a strong-spirited person, you are going to be attacked. Mm-hmm. But don't look at depression as something bad. Change your mindset that this is something that is truly going to evolve you into an incredible human being. Mm-hmm. I don't think I would have the empathy that I have and be the person that I have and the most understanding patient. I mean, I'm not the most patient person, but like patient for other people's issues that they may struggle with, and deeply understanding where they're at in life if I didn't go through that pain.
Yeah.
And you use your pain and that is your power. And that is how you're going to help someone else too. Even it's just believe that your life is worth living.
Well, and reach out to us too.
Yeah, reach out, you guys. Like, we'll tag all ourselves on here too, so you guys can, because we have all gone through it, and we can give you guys resources. There's a lot of resources out here too to help. And I think the last thing I'm going to leave you all with is that remember, it's a bad day, not a bad life, and to just keep on going, and that you are loved, and that you are heard, and that your story really matters. And thank you guys all for listening. And thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it was fun.
Thank you for
Yeah, I
having
appreciate
us.
Thanks
you
for having
guys.
us.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening to us Blaire It Out. Peace.